Hello, everyone. I hope you are listening to me.
Hello, Yusuf. Now it's you can hear you.
Okay, thank you. We are trying to make this video from the Council of Europe, but I think it has some mistake. And I'm going to give the floor to AJ and Doa.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Everyone hearing me, right? Okay, so my name is Dora, and I'm happy to host together with AJ the youth engagement in combating hate speech, especially in these very difficult times that we experience around the world. This topic is extremely important. A little bit about myself. My name is Dora Bender, and I'm the Executive Director of Democracy and Federalism Up. What we are trying to do is actually inspire, our community and our society to engage with understanding democracy and federalism and implement that through our local communities, the state, regional, world, and also behind. And we have actually a new program that actually discussing about exploring a government structure in Mars, a democratic federation in Mars. So this is very inspiring. And today I would like to actually share that I'm hosting today together with AJ. And I would like to actually present this incredible woman. So AJ believed that a better world can only be achieved with civil society participation and active citizenship. She has worked as an advocate for children across the, I'm sorry, she advocated for children to access quality education and for young people social cohesion and representation under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. She is the founder and co-chairwoman of the Societal Being Foundation, launched in Istanbul, headquarters in Brussels, which has since expanded its operation to 11 countries and has reached more than 85,000 children with its program, providing access to quality education. She advocates inside and outside international institutions for children's rights and youth empowerment. In April 2024, she was elected as the youngest standing committee member of the Committee of INGOS in Council of Europe. So please, AJ, please have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora, and good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to congratulate Yusuf. It's an amazing audience here right now. Thank you for organizing this event and makes us to come together online. And I'm very happy to share today's moderation with Dora. As Dora mentioned, my name is Ece Çiftçi. I am elected standing committee member of the Conference of INGOs of the Council of Europe. And I am responsible on all the youth strategies and the youth programs under the SINGO. So this event is also closely linked with the SINGO youth strategy, which highlights three key priorities. The first one is promoting youth participation in democratic process and decision making. The second one, safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the young people. And the last one, strengthen civil society spaces where youth can lead the change. So within this framework, combating hate speech is a central priority. Hate speech undermines democracy, social cohesion, and particularly threats vulnerable groups, including youth, minorities, and LGBTQI communities. And by gathering today, we aim to transform the youth strategy into a practice where showcasing how young people, civil society organizations, and the other partners can take active roles in creating safer, more inclusive, and digital social safe environments, let me say. I guess our session today will focus on how young people, civil society, and media actors can work together to address hate speech, particularly in the online space, and how we can transform challenges into concrete actions. We are joined by a distinguished group of speakers who will be each sharing insights from their own fields of work. And also, again, I would like to welcome you all. And we are as a single youth part, and also single part, we are very happy to be a part of these webinars. And if you want to learn more about what we are doing, please Google us. I will add the chat and also for the youth strategy. So I just wanted to make it shorter to give the floor for the other speakers. And thank you and welcome again.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really, truly inspiring. I'm going to move now to Izof. Izof, you're going to come next? Yeah, because we changed the order.
I am going to.
Let me introduce you real quick. Okay, so Yusuf, my dearest colleague, Yusuf Halimi is the director of the European Center for Human Rights. Yusuf Halimi has been serving as the director of the European Center for Human Rights since 2015. He is also the co-founder of the Council of Europe No Hate Speech Network, demonstrating his long-standing commitment to promoting equality and combating discrimination. With over 20 years of experience in human rights advocacy and a degree in European integration, Yusuf has led enormous initiatives supported by the European Parliament and the European Commission, making significant impact in advancing human rights across Europe. Throughout his career, Yusuf has gained extensive experience presenting non-governmental organizations within Europe, civil society networks. His leadership and dedication have been instrumental in creating platform for cooperation, understanding, and positive social change throughout the region. So go ahead, please. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Are you listening to me? Yes, I think. Huh? Okay. Thanks, Ece, for supporting to make this webinar. It's more bigger in Europe. And I think it's the first time for this year what we are discussing about the no hate speech, but we need it. I'm not going to take too much time. I mean, I prefer to give a place to our speaker with our amazing and we have the best experience of not speech. But I'm just going to present our memory makers quickly. These our memory makers are working in European country and which was supporting by the CERF program of the European Commission. Here you have it of a objective of memory makers, but we are going to focusing on diversity and history in Europe. Project is supported by CERF, what I said before, and you are working in civil society, you know it about of a CERF, and we have different activity, including in this amazing project, what is going to be around 80 months around of Europe. And if I don't forget it, it's of a European Center for Human Rights of a French leading project. We have a University of Kharkov, who is our partner, Lithuania, Greece, and Ireland. We are focusing on Roma community, LGBT, disability people, women, and Holocaust education. It's a base of project is going to focus on Holocaust. We have different activity during the 20 months. We are focusing in 5 countries, what I say to you, and we are going to involve so many young people in different webinars. And I'm just like to share a web page of our project, and you can register in different webinars what is going on in Europe, and we are going to discussing about different issues and different education campaigns. What I said for you, we are focusing on women, Roma community, LGBT survivors, and Holocaust. Today we are discussing about the not-paid speech campaigning, and if you know very well what is European Center of Human Rights, are of a second association of the Council of Europe who is working on not-hate speech in Europe and on international level. And also this is our webinar number 3, what we are going to organize together with you. And maybe it's very interesting to share with the European Center for Human Rights have special priority cooperation with the Council of Europe, and this kind of priority we are going to publish very soon in English and French language, and we are going to support the agenda of Council of Europe about the human rights and promoting of the human rights, monitoring human rights also. And this is at all. This is my presentation. I'm not going to take too much time to you, and maybe just let's see in the end when we have a debate with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yusuf. Now we move to Nazary Boyarsky, our colleague. So Nazary Boyarsky is a human rights defender, civic educator, and a co-founder of the NGO Democratic Initiative Incubator. He has over 15 years of experience in advancing human rights, youth participation, and inclusive civic education across Ukraine, the Eastern Partnership region, and the EU. He is a member of the Council of Europe Youth Department Trainers Pool, the International Youth Work Trainers Guild, and the Eastern European Network for Citizenship Education. Nazary is the author and co-author of more than 20 handbooks and manuals, and a fluent speaker, a frequent speaker, and developer of initiative on combating hate speech. So please, you're welcome to join us and speak.
Thank you so much, dear Dora, for such a nice welcoming. Hello, everyone, dear colleagues and friends. Yes, my name is Nazary Boyarsky, and I'm the co-founder of the Democratic Initiatives Incubator in Ukraine, but we are operating not only in Ukraine, but in Eastern Partnership countries and Baltic countries as well. And today I want to share with you some lessons from the international project LGBTIQ Usenet, which we conducted with our partners. And this project is about youth power against hate speech and how young people can create real changes. This project connected 5 countries, France, Ukraine, Denmark, Germany, and Ireland. It was supported by Erasmus Plus program, And together we worked on practical tools for young people and youth workers to find online hate online. On the project website, which you can see on my slide, you can find the handbooks and open resources that are free to use. And actually, why talk about online hate speech? First of all, hate speech is growing online, and LGBTQI people are often the target of hate speech. The consequences are very serious: discrimination, isolation, and even radicalization. That is why we need to talk about this problem and why we need actions from young people and young workers and as well like authorities. Actually, young people are not only victims of hate and LGBTQ young people, they can also be change makers. And in this photo, you can see one of the project activities, a meeting of the Youth Assembly in the city of Kropyvnytsky in the central east of Ukraine. The city often suffers from rockets attacks from Russia, and because of damage the electricity system, the Young Center had no light the day when we organized this event. But you can see young people still gathered, used flashlights and their mobile phones to help themselves to talk about hate speech and how to fight it. This shows their motivation and their power, even in very difficult conditions, to fight and make these positive changes in their life, about which I will also tell a little bit later more precisely. During our project, we learned some key lessons, and I would like to share some of them with you. And first, young people are ready to learn and use tools to counter hate. On our website, you can find handbooks about hate speech in project countries in Europe, how to address it, about how to organize young assemblies. We also can find thematic presentations and other open resources, and I invite you to use them. These materials are available in all 5 languages of project, and already thousands of downloads show the topic and the educational tools are really in demand, and young people download and use in their organizations, in their life, trying to learn more and counteract hate speech. Second, shared spaces help break down barriers between LGBTQI plus people and wider youth community, educators and authorities. And in this photo, you see the presentation of our handbook, which we developed during the project in Vinnytsia. Vinnytsia city in the center of Ukraine is actually my hometown, where our organization is located. And you can see 44 people on this photo, young people, local authorities, representatives, including LGBTQ plus young people. And you can see how they came together to learn about hate speech and how they learn to work together. It is very valuable, important when young people, including LGBT plus youth, can sit at the same time, at the same table with authorities and speak equally, openly about their needs and be heard actually. And it works. Next, third, participation in an international network gives youth confidence and knowledge. In this photo, you see another youth assembly in Vinnytsia, where we showed a video message from our international partners. I didn't know about this, but actually, you can see on the photo our dear partner, Representative Lola. She's participated today in this webinar as well. And why it's important actually, because for young people, especially from small cities like Vinnytsia, it's not a big city, this kind of support is very and very important. They feel solidarity from people in other countries. This inspires them and gives them strength. And here I want as well to thank all of you who stands with Ukraine in our struggle for freedom and human rights. And finally, even small presentations or small meetings generate a wave of change. Actually, in this photo, you can see an event that was initiated during youth assemblies in Kropyvnytsky, the same city and youth assembly where you saw the young people earlier on my presentation under the flashlights because of blackouts. There, young people recalled a sad story when in Kropyvnytsky radical groups in the city disturbed a book presentation by a local writer on LGBTQ topic. So during these youth assemblies, they recalled this story and decided to organize a new presentation for this writer, and they made it happen. And you see this pretty nice and happy writer in the middle with her books, surrounded by young people who organize this presentation for her and as well as for community in safe surrounding. So I would like to summarize that all these activities help create spaces where young people could freely express themselves, discuss problems and propose solutions that actually also make connections between youth, educators, activists and local authorities. Even small local meetings generate the effect from school and youth centers to entire communities. Our experience proved that young people have the power to transform the online space and make it more inclusive. But they need resources, they need sometimes recognition, and they need support. I encourage you to use our handbooks to spread educational materials and organize dialogues in your own communities, because every small step counts building a society free of hate speech. Thanks you very much for your attention, and let's act against hate speech together.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nassari, for this wonderful presentation and hearing about your extensive work. Definitely inspiring. Now we're going to move to Piotr Saidowski. Hopefully, I'm saying the name correct, and I apologize if I'm not.
But don't worry, Dora, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. Later you can give me training. I apologize. Okay, so he's the vice president of the Conference of INGOS, Council of Europe. His leadership is defined by his commitment to European value. He has over 15 years of experience advocating for social justice on behalf of organized civil society in critical dialogue with political institutions, social partners, and businesses in Europe. He is the Secretary General of Volunteer Europe, as well as Vice President of Lifelong Learning Platform, Board Member of Civil Society Europe, and Vice President of the Conference of INGOS in the Council of Europe, with a particular remit of safeguarding social rights. He currently plays a central role in organizing the European Citizen Initiative for Water Smart and Resilient Europe. Proudly identified as a European and an active member of diverse communities, his personal and professional journey stands as a powerful statement to the transformative potential of democracy in building resilient, inclusive societies. So I'm truly share a lot of your inspiring journey. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dora, and everyone for inviting me. I'm going to try to speak as loud as possible because I'm in a sort of noisy space at Dublin Airport. Sorry about that. Best I could do to find a solution to this. But dear friends, I mean, Dora, thank you very much. You said a lot of really nice words about me, but I think I will start about speaking about the importance of the collective and the collective responsibility that we have in various settings. Me, myself, in this capacity where I'm speaking from today in the Council of Europe at the Conference of INGOs, to combat hate speech, and with a really big focus on engaging young people in this effort. I think this responsibility falls on not just politicians who come to represent their countries at the Council of Europe, but also those like myself come from civil society who are elected by the members of the conference to represent them on the standing committee, which is in effect the board of the Conference of INGOs. Previously, I was president of Social Platform for 2 mandates. That's the EU's largest social justice platform of European civil society networks. And for me, that was really a true lesson that you get to know that once you take on board this responsibility, you are required, both operationally, but even more importantly, ethically, to leave the interests of your own organization or even your own, of course, behind. You are there for the collective. And I will say it very purely. You don't get to pick which fights you take and which ones you don't, because all the fights in our sector that we get into are all about social justice and human rights. So you don't get to select, to be really selective about them. We are there to work together and support one another. And I say all of this because sadly, this approach to selectiveness, choosing what fits best, is what happens so much in the world of politics and institutions. And sadly, it also sometimes creeps into the civil society world as well. So let's start on the very good goods and positives. So the Council of Europe has made really significant commitments. Like earlier this year, during the No Hate Speech Week earlier this year, ministers, parliamentarians, and civil society, they all reaffirmed their determination to strengthen standards and practice in the fight against hatred and hate speech. And the Council of Europe was actually the first international organization to bring in and agree on an official definition of hate speech. And it has been providing member states with clear recommendations through a body called ECRI. That stands for the European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance. And ECRI is the Council of Europe's independent monitoring body that has, since 1993, I think, it has been issuing detailed country reports and policy recommendations, including a very important landmark recommendation. It's got a number 15 on it, which relates to combating hate speech. And alongside this, the No Hate Speech movement, which has been mentioned, is really important, coordinated by the Youth Department. It shows how youth, how governments and NGOs, civil society can unite across borders to confront hatred online and offline. So on paper, right, and in theory, these commitments are all extremely impressive because we have charters, we have conventions, we've got the European Court Human Rights case law, and we have a wealth of guidance. And all of this provides a really strong normative framework for tackling discrimination and protecting victims. But for me comes the twist now. I'm sorry to bring this rather negative moment, but we have to speak openly about this. What is written in agreements and strategies often is very different from lived reality. For me, as I would like to share a current and life experience, that reality is laid bare in the project which we are doing in the Council of Europe called Bridge. It's about building resilience in civil society. And we bring in civil society voices, many of them young people, from across Europe, where it is stressed that hate speech is not being adequately addressed in practice. Places like Georgia, Serbia, Hungary, other countries across Europe, young people told us that hate speech is part of their daily lives. They are targeted for their activism, their identities, and their communities, and far too often, really, instead of protection, they encounter hostility, violence, and brutality from those who should be defending their rights. And during my recent monitoring visit to Serbia, I met with youth organizations and many LGBTQI youth groups, and their testimonies were really, really deeply troubling. Basically, hate speech is not only tolerated, but really even strengthened by those in positions of authority. We heard of public officials using discriminatory language, state institutions failing to act, police stopping brutality on the streets, and young people left exposed to harassment both online and offline. And really what happens is when governments themselves resort to offensive rhetoric, or when they turn a blind eye, they really clearly send a message that hatred is acceptable. And that is, of course, an abuse of power. Our role in the context of INGOs and within the Council of Europe family is really to hold governments accountable. And I think this is where the conference can really be proud of itself. We are there to insist that commitments to human rights and dignity are not optional, they are not cosmetic, they're not pretty, and they are not only for Strasbourg. They must be delivered in Belgrade, in Tbilisi, Warsaw, Budapest, Istanbul, everywhere, where else where young people are asking to be heard and to be protected and to be engaged in the dialogues. But I think accountability is only half of this equation, and this then the other half is engagement. Because youth engagement cannot be tokenistic. And young people must not be just seen or relegated to advisory corners without having any influence. They must be treated as co-creators of solutions. They must be able to work directly with elected politicians to hold them accountable, policy makers and with civil society. We know from our work that young people are, of course, ready. They're not bored with the democracy. They're just dismayed by the fact that they're not being engaged in it. They bring creativity, they bring courage and clarity. By the way, I shouldn't be saying they, I should be saying you, because this is actually the much better way of addressing this audience. So I will reframe it. You bring creativity, you bring courage and clarity. You are already building campaigns, you're monitoring hate speech, you're providing peer support and pushing for inclusive policies. But you need allies. You need us, INGOs, civil society organizations, institutions, and progressive politicians to strengthen your voices and to open doors. And very often, you, as young people, and I can speak as maybe as a collective, you pay the price for your activism. Like, for example, Enes Ochagulari did in Turkey. Yet I am really proud that from my side, even from the distance, and from the members of our LGBTQI community across Europe, you're putting the utmost pressure and criticism of the Turkish authorities, who have been punishing Enes for speaking out the truth, not on behalf of himself, but on behalf of thousands of young people fighting for equality and freedoms. And here I want to bring in a cross-cutting learning experience. So today we're focusing on the Council of Europe. In parallel, Yusuf and my other colleagues in other organizations are also engaged in many initiatives within the EU framework. And for example, we have a project called Sphere, which is funded by SERC. We work with civil society and politicians to counter hate speech in political discourse. And the approach that is being developed there, such as training for officials, voluntary codes of conduct, mechanisms for cooperation, they're really relevant directly to our work here. These experiences show that strategies really do not stop at borders, and they should be transferred into the Council of Europe context to any country if possible, ensuring real coherence across Europe. I also really want to underline the importance of having political progressive allies. Just last week, at our partners meeting in Brussels, Yusuf was there. My friend Mark Engel from Luxembourg, who's a member of the European Parliament, and he is the former chair of the European Parliament's LGBT group. He joined us in the Sphere meeting. And as someone who has lived experience of anti-LGBTQI discrimination, who was growing up in the 80s and 90s when shaming and shunning gay men with AIDS, this youth was so prevalent and unfightable. He made it clear to us that hate speech cannot be tolerated in public life because it leads to destruction. And that kind of solidarity, when you have with politicians who stand shoulder to shoulder with you, with young people, with civil society, is extremely powerful. This is something we need to see much more of within the Council of Europe space and just generally in Europe. And let me finish on a personal note. So I don't consider myself to be that young anymore, but when I was a young person, I came out as gay at the age of 16. But I was fortunate to be supported at a really, really incredible secondary school, which was in Wales in the UK. But whenever I was returning to Poland back then, and that was in the second half of the 1990s, the reception was way far harsher. I experienced directly how language can wound you, how it can hurt you, how hate speech can isolate you. And that personal story stays with me, and it really drives my conviction that hate speech has no place in our societies. Because here comes the danger that we have and are facing increasingly. When public figures, many of them, normalize a very brutal, offensive speaking style, it does not stay confined to politics, it really trickles down everywhere. It erodes democratic culture. Ordinary people start to believe that cruelty is acceptable, that exclusion is justified. And that spiral is exactly how democracy is weakened. So my message to you, my fellow friends and colleagues is, and to all of us, is very simple. And you agree with that as well, that hate speech is not inevitable. It is not just words, but it is a threat to rights, dignity, and democracy itself. But when we work together as civil society, working with progressive institutions and active young people, we can really resist it. Despite the fact that in extreme circumstances, our friends end up in prison and bogus charges which serve only the dictatorship's well-being. So we must ensure that commitments made in Strasbourg are delivered in daily life, that governments are held accountable, and then youth are empowered as leaders in this struggle. Because there's no place for hate speech in Europe, neither in parliaments, nor in playgrounds, nor in politics, nor in our community. And on that note, I thank you so much for having me here today. And I hope that sort of what I shared gives some basis for further conversations in your wonderful event. And good luck for the project. And I wish absolutely everybody here all the best in whatever activism, challenges, struggles you find every day, because, you know, in reality, we have to work together and there's always more power when together. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your notes and your stories. Truly, truly interesting and inspiring. I would like to give the floor to my colleague, my moderator, Ece. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Dora, and thank you, Piotr, for your sharings. I would like to welcome you once again. And before we continue, let me kindly remind you a few simple rules for our session. Please remember, no hate speech will be tolerated during this webinar. And secondly, after you finish your intervention, kindly turn off your microphone, please, so that the next speaker can take the floor without interpretation. And the last one, if possible, we have a great number of participants right now. If possible, we warmly encourage you all to keep your cameras on. So it helps and it creates a more engaging and connected atmosphere. Thank you for the participants who are turning on their cameras right now. Now I would like to invite Elena Perotti, who is the Executive Director of Public Affairs and Media Policy at One IFRA, to share her insights on how engaging digital media can help us to confront gender-based online hate speech. The World Association of News Publishers. She is responsible for identifying and studying major public affairs issues within the news industry, and is leader and author of all research output of the department. Elena is also in charge of the news literacy initiatives and the interaction and liaison with One IFRA's governing boards, as well as with national and regional member associations and international bodies. She holds a Master of Law in International Law and is experienced in media policy, senior management, and global event organization and public relations. Thank you for being here, Elena. I would like to give you the floor. And for our participants after the Elena, if you have a questions, please write the chat box or turn on the microphone. I would like to continue moderating. Elena, floor is yours.
So thank you so much for this introduction. It was so thorough that I expect at a minimum 2 or 3 marriage proposals afterwards, at least. Okay, I will share my presentation with you. Here we go. And okay, I will not be able to make it a full presentation because I don't know how to do that. So we will just go this way. Okay. So I'm here to speak to you about this project I'm participating in for One IFRA, and one of our partners is ACHR, which you know very well, and this is the reason why they are hosting me in doing this presentation for you. Chase is, if I may say so myself, a very clever acronym for a very substantive problem, which is combating online hate speech by engaging online media. And you can see here our very nice visual that was created by our colleagues in the consortium. It is a project which is funded by the EU SERV program, which you might know. It is a program it stands for Citizens, Equality, Rights and Values, and it is aimed at developing and supporting right-based, open, democratic, inclusive societies based on the rules of law. And among the pillars of this project, there are gender equality and the fight against gender-based violence. So this is the reason why Chase is funded by CERV. And here you can find the logos of all our partners. There is the Media Diversity Institute Global, represented here by Federica, and they are the leaders of our consortium. And then there are partners from Greece, Cyprus, Italy, and France. These are Simplexis, Protothema, ACHR, as I said, the Center for Social Innovation, Alpha Cyprus, and Chase. It is a European Union funded project. So as you all will know, we absolutely need feedback and attendance confirmation. We all know that this is really paramount in EU funded projects. So you will find in every single one of my slides this QR code, which will bring you to a feedback form where you can, as soon as I get you a little bit bored and that you can do that, you can just complete the feedback form. That would be amazing. At the end of which you will have the possibility to also sign your participation. You just have to do a scribble or write your initials or something that will be accepted as proof that you actually were here and listened to me. So now back to the Chase program. Now, first, the World Association of News Publishers. Who are we? We are the World Association of News Publishers, so we were founded in 1948. We are non-profit organizations established in France by survivors of World War II. We include, our membership is composed mainly by news publishers associations, which of course represent, or each of them represent all the publishing industry in their country. Our membership is composed by 72 associations and brings us to represent over 18,000 publications from around the world. Our mission is to uphold freedom of expression and also to protect the rights of journalists to operate independent media. So we have a strong focus also on the business of the media, of course. The premise of the Chase project is that the online media platforms are both places where hate speech happen, but also they are responsible for preventing it. The reality, though, is that many of these platforms, and of course the news publishers are one of them, many of these platforms are the tools. I'm sorry, I have people messaging me because I forgot to put on the do not disturb thing. This always happens. Just a second, please. Let me do this. There you go. Thank you. So of course the problem is that many of these platforms lack the practical tools to be able to address the problem and much less to solve it. So our main objective is to tackle online gender-based hate speech, of course, which has catastrophic consequences. And the overall objective is precisely to put together a mechanism to tackle the speech and to react to it when it happens. Everything is based on research. All of these activities are happening in all the countries that are partners, of course, in this consortium. As I said, France, Italy, Cyprus, and Greece. And the first thing we did was research. So we researched what is actually happening out there, what are the laws around the topic of gender-charged hate speech, what are the mechanisms for cases of online gender speech identification, the different patterns, and so on. On the basis of the research, our technical partner developed a technical tool that is able to detect in real time hate speech when it happens in the comments of online platforms in digital environment, basically of online media. And the last part of the project will consist, thanks to the result of the research and of the use of the technical tool, we will develop a mechanism for countering online gender-based hate speech, and we will proceed to capacity building within online media for them to be able to become better at addressing this problem. The research I was talking about is what underpins all of our work, and it is threefold. It was first of all legal analysis, then content monitoring, and then stakeholder consultation findings. These brought to 3 core publications, which we will be happy to share with you if you're interested. And that resulted in better strategies and tools for identifying, preventing, and addressing online hate speech. The first research project was online hate speech on the grounds of gender identity, and analyze the legal framework existing in the 4 countries that we examined. It is a very thorough and long report, so I really encourage you to read it. But the short story is that in all of the country, the specific problem of gender hate speech, gender charged hate speech, is not really tackled by the reality of the law. In Greece, you have laws on racist speech, but gender is not one of the specific reasons that qualifies a speech as hateful. In Italy, there is a law about hate speech that does not cover gender identity at all. In France, you have a law protecting freedom of expression, which was adapted to include hate speech, but the big challenge remains as to actually how to sanction the offenders. And in Cyprus, you have a whole fragmentation of laws addressing to hate speech, very vague definitions, and therefore, again, the problem is not properly addressed at the time. So the findings are that, of course, is gender and gender identity, the hate speech against gender identity is widespread across Europe, and that hate speech is often triggered by real world events, such as Pride Parade, legislative debates. We will see this better later. Very often the incidents are underreported, we all know that, and the legal framework is inconsistent across EU, but in general it is not sufficient. The second research was more hands-on, let's say, because it really went into the common sections of media. They selected the 4 more important media in the different countries to go and see exactly what shape the hate speech took in the different situations. So again, depending on the countries, in Cyprus and Greece, the period where these news outlets' comments were analyzed was the time around the Eurovision and the Pride Month, and in France and Italy it was around elections and Olympics. So again, hate speech, we were looking really for events that were more likely to trigger hate speech, and the analysis was done of on social media platforms connected to the 4 more important media in each country, so on Facebook, Instagram, and X. The finding was as horrifying as you can imagine. Of course, misogynistic and transphobic speech are very common and widespread. The transphobic hate speech takes a form of mainly derogatory comments which dismiss the legitimacy of their gender identity. They go as far as misgendering, dehumanization. They tend to ridicule the person. Misogynistic hate speech very often is focused on denigration of feminist movement and human rights. It is a lot of victim blaming, very often rape threats and sexualization of the woman. In general, the rights of both women and the LGBTQAI+ individuals are really perceived as a threat to the social order and traditional, also religious values. And it is important to remember that the tools that are used by these agents are not only very often a very overt, open insults, of course, or even very, very long paragraphs as well, but sometimes it's just a combination of emojis. It's just, punctuation, a lot of words divided by a full stop to increase drama around whatever is said. Exclamation points, and then of course there is the purposeful misspelling, which is as childish as violent sometimes, images, GIFs, and so on. The third output of the research part of this project is a needs analysis report for online media. So here we asked the online media directly what they feel that is needed for them to be able and better equipped to react to this problem. And the results of this final report was that online media should for sure contribute to the safety of the internet. So they feel the responsibility for it. And a few of the solutions that were proposed were adopting positive response measures, updating their internal code of content, improve content moderation practices, and educate audiences, of course, through information awareness campaign, but also capacity building activities for media professionals. We try to help the media in tackling this problem, of course. And what we did was that we took the results of these three reports that you can find here in the slide on the left. So the hate speech patterns, legal framework analysis, and the need analysis. And we transposed these results into technical requirements and specification for the development of an AI-powered moderation tool that our technical partner was able to develop over the last few months. So from the research, they took use cases, hate speech detection, alerts, comments monitoring, moderation, and so on, categories, and so on. So what is happening now? We're on the final steps of the project. We've done the research, we decided what really was needed, then we created the AI tool, and now we have to use it. So the tool was designed, and the objective is, again, to help online media platforms to detect faster and more efficiently, automatically, hate speech, gender-charged hate speech. On the 1st of October 2025, our partners, one partner in each country, will test this tool in a real-world setting of a local media outlet for 30 days. And this will be in order to complete the training of the AI tech tool and teach it better what is and what is where it does things right and where it does things wrong, and hopefully make it better by the end of the month. At the same time, we are holding a training of trainers within the consortium, and by December we aim at having at offering to interested online media a training on how to use the Chase tool independently for their personal use and to take responsibility, as we said, in helping advance the fight against gender-charged hate speech. We will conclude this project with an international conference in Brussels, and let me remind you, this perfect timing to remind you to please go through the QR code to the feedback form. At the end of this feedback form, right before you sign that indeed you participated, there is a possibility of asking to be kept informed about the development and final steps of this project, and there you can, if you want, indicate that you would like to keep being informed about what we do, and maybe know when this international conference in Brussels is, and we will be happy to have you there. So to conclude, Chase is, we like to think of it as more of than a research initiative. It is really a call of action for a problem that regards the whole of humanity as well, really. And the idea was, again, to combine legal insight and technological innovation to get to a concrete result. Because there is an evolution that we need to face as to how we face these problems and how we contribute to their solution. Again, feedback and attendance form, please click here and go give us your feedback. I will be very happy to receive any questions you might have. And here are my contact details. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena, for your great presentation. And I would like to turn to the audience if they have questions to you. So please, if you have questions, turn on your micro. And I would like to give the floor 1 to 2 participants to ask their questions to Elena. I'm seeing in my screen Hera's hand. Hera, am I pronouncing correct? I'm sorry.
Yes, Hera is correct pronouncing. Okay, I have a question since our organizations have been working on detecting hate speech on online media in Kosovo and wanted really to understand how does this AI platform works and
Hera, I'm sorry, just maybe Ellen, she can stop your presentation.
Yeah, I was thinking to just leave the QR on for a second, Yusuf, just the time
Yeah.
to answer the question. Yes, Sarah, so go.
Okay, so I wanted to see if the AI platform, is it adjustable to various contexts and states? For example, is it usable in Kosovo's context if we put information in Albanian? So is it a tool that can be further used by various states or various organizations, regardless of the language?
Hera, thank you for your question. Of course, we are in a piloting phase. We literally just developed the tool, and we developed it in 4 languages for the moment. So we developed it in English, French, Greek, and the language of in English. So, and adapted it for Cyprus as well. So this tells you that, first of all, we need to test it and make sure that everything works and is fine. And then, of course, developments in different languages will be possible in a future. That is something that our technical partner ensures that could be done. So this is it will be possible. It is the whole point to have the whole of the industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hera, for your question. And I'm checking the list if we have the further questions to Elena. Okay. Thank you for your time and sharing, Zelena. If for the participants, if you have further questions, please feel free to write into the chat box. Now we will hear from Hera Luma, who is the advocacy program manager at the Advocacy Training and Resource Center in Kosovo, who will present their work on youth digital engagement against hate speech and incitement. Hera Luma, she oversees various projects that focus on educating youth and communities about their rights, encouraging active citizenship, advocating for policy and legislative changes, and strengthen the capacities of civil society organizations. Among the projects, she has managed combat hate in Kosovo, supported by the MATRA program of Embassy of the Netherlands in Kosovo, within which the Hate-O-Meter 1 and Hate-O-Meter 2 research studies were conducted. This initiative also included an in-depth analysis of institutional responses to hate speech and hate crimes, its effect on youth and marginalized communities, and shedding light on effectiveness and challenges of current mechanism in addressing hate speech and hate incitement. In her engagement as advocacy program manager, she has worked on empowering youth and marginalized groups, promoting freedom of expressions, and supporting initiatives that foster inclusive dialogue and democratic participation in Kosovo. So again, thank you for being here, Hera. We can see your presentation right now, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, AJ. So, as AJ represented me, I'm Hera from ATRC from Kosovo. I would like to represent some of the projects of the ATRC, which include combating hate speech. One of them is Combat Hate in Kosovo, supported by MATRA program, and the other is Countering Discrimination, Hate Speech, and Gender-Based Violence in Kosovo, supported by the EU office in Kosovo. What we have done through this project is firstly initiating the documentation of the presence of hate speech within Kosovo media for the first time. And second, what we have done is capacity building for institutions, for media, for youth, and supporting local NGOs, smaller initiatives to address hate speech within community level. So, as we know, the legislation in Kosovo is very solid, and aside what we have seen from previous representations, the legislation in Kosovo condemns hate speech through its criminal code, and specifically, explicitly, it condemns that on ethnicity-based, religion-based, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, and on other personal traits. Aside this, according to the Article 4 of the Law on Protection from Discrimination, hate speech is also considered as a discrimination. But who is most affected from hate speech? What we have seen from our work in the field is that ethnic minorities, youth, LGBTI community, and immigrants or refugees are the ones affected the most from hate speech. Even though that we have good regulation and solid legal background in Kosovo, we continuously encounter hate speech and incitement, and that is most often faced online. The last registration of Kosovo's population was in 2024, and I can say that about 23% of the population is from age 15 to 29. But this statistic indicates that 31% of the population in Kosovo is 0 to 15. So Kosovo has the youngest population, maybe we can say, in Europe, and the internet penetration is high. So the most targeted group or most affected group who can face hate speech and who can be incited or motivated to act based on that are youth. We have conducted a school safety report with one of our projects, and that school safety report indicated that hate speech within school settings and within online settings based on youth is mostly shown under the guise of humor in social context. Therefore, hate speech bullying, fueling bullying, inciting hate actions or hate crimes, violence, and promoting discrimination. Considering that youth's online presence is very high, we detected the importance of aligning policies, and we have seen that many schools do not have policies or regulations to address such problems within it. We have supported youth councils within municipalities to help schools and school children's councils to address hate speech through teaching them how to address hate speech, which are the institutions or mechanisms that can help them address hate speech within school settings, and aside that. I would like to represent Hate-O-Matter reports, which are, I can say, the most important ones, because first time in Kosovo we have marked the presence of hate speech within Kosovo's media. We have sparked a meaningful debate because in Kosovo we don't have print media. We only have online media on social networks or broadcast televisions. And okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
You can continue.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So Independent Media Committee controls only broadcasted media, whereas online media in Kosovo, there is no law regulating that, and there is very little control since online media functions through social network, and it's very hard to detect which businesses are they, or are they registered in the Independent Media Committee, and so on. These are some of the results that we have encountered through analyzing the presence of hate speech within Kosovo media. We have analyzed 2,512 articles and 201 audiovisual materials. This analysis is from 2019, from period January to June. And we see that the highest number was shown on online media. With 80% of articles analyzed that had problematic language, and the others, 12%, containing hate speech. Whereas in the audiovisual materials, as I said, since the Independent Media Committee controls them, the number is lower comparing to the analyzed number of materials. 201 analyzed materials with 9% of containing hate speech and 30% of containing problematic language. But what we can see a difference between these 2 years, that in audiovisual materials from January 1 to June 2020, we have a very high percentage of hate speech and problematic language appearance. And I would like to give you the information why do we see this change is because we had the election period. And during the election period, as my colleague, like 2 colleagues before me that mentioned that politicians, decisions maker, do a very good role and big role on preventing hate speech or contrary to promoting hate speech. This is in a rise in hate speech, and what we've done is we've addressed this on Independent Media Committee, and we've seen a lot of fines to televisions that were fined due to promoting hate speech online. From articles analyzed, hate speech mainly have framed communities as violent, threatening, followed by offensive depictions of traditions and lifestyles, and to a lesser extent, incitement to violence. Unfortunately, we have encountered 2 calls for violence within this analysis, and the calls for violence were only towards LGBTIQ community. Even though the highest number of hate speech articles were detected towards Roma and Ashkali or Egyptian communities, the calls for violence were detected only towards LGBTIQ community. According to OECD, Kosovo is the leader in Western Balkans in the region with 98.6% of households having internet access, surpassing even EU average. So everyone in Kosovo has access to internet, and most probably everyone has social networks accessing online information. And since information is not printed in Kosovo, we see this as a very emerging situation and threatening situation, because even Kosovo law doesn't regulate it very well. How does the online media function? What we have done as ATRC to address this issue is that we have worked in collaboration with Independent Media Committee and shared all of the databases with all of the names of the analyzed broadcasted televisions and number of hate speech cases identified during the analysis, and we've seen good finds. We have worked with judges, prosecutors, and police through including in their curriculum of training for addressing hate speech cases, and preventing hate speech and hate crimes. This in the curriculum of the Academy of Justice and the Academy for Public Safety, it was the first time in Kosovo that we have included both of the modules. And we are very happy for this, that even after the project, this has continued in both of the academies, and all new judges and new police officers get this training. We have also supported smaller CSOs through grants to implement activities on their community level to address hate speech, hate crimes, to promote tolerance, interethnic collaboration, and so on. Specifically, we have supported 14 youth initiatives from 14 different municipalities to implement sport activities, interethnic activities, to implement discussions, to implement lectures, and to implement artistic events that address discrimination, hate speech, and so on. Since we've seen the difference between 2019 and 2020 and the rise of the hate speech on online media and audiovisual media, and the impact of the elections on increasement of the hate speech, we have also saw the importance of working with political parties. So what we have done is that we have worked with candidates and political parties and community and youth, and organized Tuesday salons to discuss about the narratives used within the election campaigns. The focus was on hate speech and discriminatory narratives and language. Through this activity, we have tried to bring a different perspective and narrative to political elections and teach politicians, impact them on not using discriminatory language, hate speech, and so on. So this was my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer. I'm honored to be around very much professionals and all of these participants. Thank you very much.
It was great, Hera. It was great to listen your presentation. I'm seeing Nimat's hands here, so I would like to first give the floor to her, and then at the same time, I'm checking the screen and the chat box.
Okay, thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nima Chama. I'm a Palestinian. I live also in Palestine. So thank you for raising this topic, because it's really important, especially for me, because I live in an area with conflict since many years ago, and unfortunately till now. So I want also to thank Hera for her inspiring presentation. And my question is, do you know real example of successful youth initiative in Kosovo that really have reduced the hate speech? And thank you.
Nimat, thank you very much. So there is an example that we have done in Prizren during the school safety report, and we have seen that within the school setting, the infrastructure of school has separated ethnically different youth. For example, the classes of Albanians were in the second floor, and the classes of Bosnians and Turks were in the first floor. So this separation has increased or decreased the integration of minorities and their socialization. And we have tried for another year to mix the classes. For example, on the second floor to have a class of Turks, a class of Bosnians, a class of Albanians, and that indicated that socialization was higher, discrimination was lower, the problems like interethnic problems within the school were lower. This does not directly correlate to hate speech, but when it comes to discrimination and problems like socialization problems within school, this was a very good example that we tested in Prizren's municipality. I can say something very specific because Kosovo has a very multicultural and multi-ethnic composition of its demographic, but maybe mixing and enhancing integration could work in other contexts as well, because in Kosovo it did work.
Yeah, I see. It's really interesting, and thank you for your example. But really, I'm curious to know if you have an advice for us, like of the Palestinian-Israel conflict, and to limit or even to control the hate speech. It's really a very big challenge, especially nowadays because the war still continues. So, what's your advice to us?
An advice could be really regulating the presence of hate speech within online spaces that youth or people can access. Because sometimes people tend to believe even to things that are not true. In Kosovo, we had a case of when a Roma transgender woman has been attacked due to hate speech online. Why? Because all of the media, when promoting those articles, said that this Roma transgender woman is attacking children. That was not true, but all media promoted this in Kosovo. Then a group of young people, when saw that Roma woman in the street, they attacked her. Why? Because they have encountered that information online and they have trusted that information. It would have been perfect if the information was like more filtered, or that media was fine or didn't function at all, and there was more control. We know that we have freedom of speech, especially in Balkans and in Kosovo. It is very much supported, but there must be regulation, like ethical regulation. There must be fines, there must be legal consequences for all of this. This is what I can say. I know the situation in your country is very, very difficult, and maybe other colleagues can have additional recommendations as well. But really, controlling some of the hate speech and access to hate speech, in this case, maybe would be one of the best preventions.
Yes, thank you, Hera. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hera, and thank you for Nimat for your question. At the same time, I'm checking the time, so that's why I would like to continue with our last speaker, and I'm delighted to now give the floor to Irena Topali, who will share her reflections on youth engagement in combating hate speech. Irena is an accomplished freelance expert in youth sector with nearly 2 decades of experience. She is a member of the Salto Sea Trainees Pool and currently serves as the International Relations Manager for the National Youth Congress in Albania. Additionally, she works as an external expert for the Beyond Barriers Association. With a rich background in civil society, Irena has previously managed programs at Beyond Barriers, an organization dedicated to youth work development, youth policies, and strategic cooperation programs across Balkans and Europe. Over her career, she has played a pivotal role in enhancing national and international youth policies, youth work development, volunteering, and intercultural learning, European citizenship values and diversity, and etc. As a freelance expert in international youth work, Irena has designed, led, managed, and moderated over 100 small and large events, including trainings and conferences for significant institutions such as the European Commission, the Council of Europe, and the several ministries and foreign embassies in Albania and abroad. Wow. Welcome, Irena. We can see your presentation right now, and I would like to give you the floor, but I cannot see you from my screen.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you right now, and we can see you now. Welcome.
Great, thank you very much for the very thorough presentation. I usually like to just introduce myself as Ira from Albania. That's how actually, that's my brand. That's how people know me. And I come from the youth work field. I might be among the very first trainers trained by the Council of Europe back in 2010 with human rights education for young people. So that's where I specialize. And that's why also hate speech itself, it's a topic that is dear to me as a professional and a youth practitioner, but also to the organization where I'm currently working, which is in fact Beyond Barriers Association. I would like to bring you shortly, and I will not take a lot of time since we're also a bit delayed. I will bring you a general panorama without stopping too much in details because it's very similar with the Kosovo case as well. A couple of words about Beyond Barriers Association. We are a national NGO founded in 2004 by young people with disability and other typical young people. Why do I mention it? Because the aim of the association itself started with bringing in Albania the social model of disability and erasing the medical model that erupted a lot of hate speech. Now, did we succeed? A lot of things have improved in these 20 years that we work with young people. But when we come to no hate speech itself and hate slurs online, offline, for example, in Albania, yet we don't have a proper reporting mechanism about hate speech towards disabled people. They are pretty much isolated. We still have some institutions where they stay closed and they become a lot the part of taking offense through various types of hate speech, be that online or offline. So that is, for example, one of the key issues that we look through. As an organization working for 21 years with young people in Albania, what we've done and used as our mechanisms is in fact very simple. I usually like to say, we walk the talk. We don't simply preach and teach, we do it ourselves first. So we teach our young people who volunteer with us, who work with us, to treat others with respect like we treat everybody in that case. If we go in a general panorama in Albania, hateful and discriminatory discourse are mainly in Albania targeting gender, ethnicity, and sexual minorities. So as it's seen also here, a few other target groups, such as also the disabled young people, they are not even part of the reporting that is done yearly. This report I took the data from is from Reporting Diversity Network, a network working throughout the Balkans, which every year, at the end of the year, they publish a report on the hate speech, which I might say has been a very good case actually to start the conversation. Then when it comes to reporting hate crime, the data and the cases is very low. It has started functioning since when we, maybe the last 10 years, more or less, as a result of Albania having to report to European Commission on the progress report and enforcing mechanisms, and also making its legal framework a bit more robust and a bit more caring, such as establishing the Commissioner for Anti-Discrimination, where everybody can
target can report a hate crime and a discrimination. And so far, what is mainly used through this are in fact hate crimes or hate slurs that derive a lot from social. So where our young people also see hate speech more is a lot in social platforms, comments, live streams, memes, the different clickbait talk shows, a lot of podcasts that everybody is doing nowadays with no control of language. Celebrities also use it quite a bit, knowingly or unknowingly. During election time, a lot is heard through our media and a lot is consumed by these young people. So again, young people happen, in fact, to be the biggest consumer of hate speech, but also play a very important role. And that's why I wanted to focus on why should we focus mainly on young people today, because they consume it. They don't check sources. A latest report in Albania found out that the most trustable source of young people for any type of information was the close family circle. So I heard someone say it. If that becomes a trustful source, then hate speech does not get out of it. It stays within. So on that regards, why is mainly effective for us in our case as a youth association working with young people is nevertheless, if we train young people to become to counter hate speech, they have their peer credibility. If a young person of 15 talks to their friend group, we believe it's stronger than me as a professional of 40 plus years old talking to them. So we use the mechanisms that work better for them. Digital creativity, countering it and educating online in the sources that they use to share information or to get the information. Then for sure, young people in Albania, at least in the last 10 years, have gained also a lot of policy recognition through different international mechanisms and national strategies. So we know that we can target the topic also structurally, and it has a ripple effect. Youth are nevertheless those that can shift the norms in our society, in families, in schools, in the digital spaces. So that's why we work with them. They can definitely take different roles into countering hate speech. When we work with our young people through the different projects, and our approach through our programming is human rights-based approach, we try to really model young people that can play these models, these positive roles as spotting and reporting the hate speech, counter narratives of hate speech, then being the peer leaders within their communities, and also being able to detect different hate speech narratives online, and hopefully also educate their own peers about that. In Beyond Barriers, we've had different projects so far and different campaigns. Maybe most importantly is we were the very first in 2013 when the No Hate Speech movement in Europe started to support with our Ministry of Youth and Education by them, who started the No Hate Speech movement in Albania. We kept it alive and very much ongoing for years. It is presently not active as a movement because it was not financed. It was a completely volunteer-based effort that myself and other activists from Albania took upon for about 10 years almost. And at the moment is more of an inactive movement, I would say. Hence, in Albania, other bodies that play a role, like Council of Europe with their programming, No Hate Speech movement still with the anti-discrimination department from the main Council of Europe, but also through the Albanian one. UN every now and then has different projects targeting the topic in mini projects or mini campaigns, OSCE as well, and every now and then we can see it also as a focus through national programming, but not very prominent or as much as it should actually be in a way. Do we have it legalized? In the sense, yes, we do have the criminal code regulating it. It is now passing through the EU acquis process because we are a country under transition. We have to also harmonize our legal framework. So I'm hoping that will also be the phase when it's made clearer and better, but also more information on the general public on how to use the legal mechanisms is needed, because not everyone who becomes a victim of hate speech knows what legal mechanisms they can use. As I mentioned before, the CPD, we call it the Commissioner for Protection Against Discrimination, has gained quite a lot of traction together with Ombudsman. And more every year, there is cases of hate speech being reported on their free platform. We've also worked in a specific project where we promoted exactly the role of these two institutions for young people and organizations, so they know how they can report and address, and to motivate people to address more. We also have the AMA Code, which is the audiovisual agency in Albania that regulates by law the hate speech and sexism in broadcasting. In the last couple of years, there has been more and more usage of it, which we're happy about. It means that there is more awareness among reporting, because we're also aware that hate speech exists also in smaller communities where people feel unable to do anything about it or to report it. So as an organization who works with young people all over Albania and abroad, as I said, we really try to walk the talk to support them if they're a victim of hate speech, how they can report it and how we support them. But if they're the peers, the young people of the community, how they can be the good citizen themselves and then spread this effect among their communities.
Can I open the floor for the questions, Mira?
Please.
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. And I would like to open the floor for the questions. Do we have any questions to Ira? Comments? Samuel, please.
Can I go on?
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Ira of Idonia, if I'm getting that correctly, as you prefer to be called. I thank you very much because your presentation resonates so well with me, and as somebody that had lived almost all my life in Africa, where hate speech really exists in reality, in print, in everywhere you can call it. So one thing I've figured out, and I think you mentioned that in your presentation, that not every victim of hate speech knows where to access the legal framework for redress. So I think also this happens, but then another thing that has become a reality, which I've figured out in terms of our work, is that most times people know where to access redress, but for a fact that most of the establishments that are meant to be a place to redress this hate speech still have people who are not yet, who still do have, who still, how do I put it, who still perpetrate this hate speech. Maybe technically, I'll give an example. I'm from Nigeria, for instance, and then we operated a safe clinic for LGBTQI people living with HIV, right? But then because we had a problem getting some professionals like doctors, like nurses, who are members of the community, we don't have any option than to outsource outside the community, right? So now, upon all the rigorous process of engagement, we still find out that most times you fall into the hands of some professionals that still have this bias mind, this bias against people living with HIV or people identifying as LGBTQI people, right? So most times, these so-called safe space are not even safe for people who are victims. So how do we really put up mechanism to ensure that this space is created for redress, that this legal framework and that this establishment meant to be a safeguard for victims are also not compromised and are also not filled with people with bias that don't really reflect the ideals of those establishments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. Yeah, I understand your concern, and I mean, okay, maybe my background of law gets in place in these cases. I think we need mechanisms, and we need systemic change. Hate speech is not a simple thing that we can only now gather here. We are all aware. Let's teach our young people. It doesn't end there. Hate speech, to not allow it become a hate crime, because that's how it starts in most of the cases, needs a systemic approach, needs better policies, needs better social care systems, needs, in our case, I would say, a reframing of the educational system as well, because there is also, I would say, terminology or phenomena which was not known before for past generations. I will not be able to explain very simply to my grandmother of 80 today what hate speech means. So I can do that with the young people, but she doesn't know this. What I mean with this, our old curricula as well is based on very old schooling style. Therefore, I think all civil society actors need to do their part. Us as organizations, media especially, because there is still, when I mentioned my grandmother, she will still watch the news. She will still be a consumer and normalize it if she hears it in the TV as the old school. So what I can control as organization, I can control my communication in the presence online because I communicate with my young people through social media platforms. But traditional media needs to also have a code of conduct, and we need, especially, maybe this is a bit more for our countries in the Western Balkan who are in transition, we have a great loss of trust in the institutions happening in the last few years. We've been stuck in this transition to the democracy and to the big will and want of going into the EU. But in between this, a lot of things are happening and the focus has shifted. So I would have absolutely, I want, and that's what we do as an organization, we lobby to improve laws, to improve amendments, to improve policies, to have it recognized in the national policies. So that's for me is important, that all actors and all the whole system of a society is really seeing hate speech as an issue, not simply that it belongs to one sector or another and you deal with it now. Okay, if there is no more questions, then I would ask for your permission because I'm just going in another event. We have the Queer LGBT Film Festival starting today from our colleague organizations, and we need to support them. So I would need to just head off. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Thank you,
And thanks to Yusuf for inviting me.
Kamil, I saw your hand. I think Ira has to leave. So maybe you can contact with her through the chat if it is possible.
Yeah, it was not for Ira actually. It was a general one.
Okay, then give me 2 seconds because I will open the floor.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I would like to thank you all speakers and participants. But I know that we run out of the time. But I would like to give 2 to 3 minutes to open the floor for all of us. If you have comments, experiences, if you want to share your reflections or ask a question, please, let's use this time to encourage ourselves to get connected. So that's why we have, let me say, 2 to 3 minutes. And I would like to start with first Kamil. Kamil, thank you. Let's make it like this. Kamil, Frederick, I will follow this order. Okay.
Thank you, Ece, and hello everyone, and thank you for the very interesting and useful discussion. My name is Kamil Gungor. I work for the European Network on Independent Living. It's a disability organization, a European network. And we, among other things, we work about independent living and choice and control and self-determination of disabled people. But among other things, we are involved also in some networks and some work around hate speech and hate crime from the perspective of disabled people. And yeah, this is basically what I wanted to mention, that I was a bit disappointed today, even though this is quite useful to not hear anything about hate crime towards disabled people. Even, we heard about different categories of different groups of people in society which face hate crime, and of course, all of them it's an existent problem. We didn't listen about, no one mentioned disabled people, and this is very common. And it's a bit disappointing because it shows how normalized it is for disabled people to face hate speech, hate crime, and how no one is really thinking that it is an issue. But actually, we face quite a lot of it, and in the language, in every, from hospitals to politicians, and from media to every sphere, you can see a lot of this example, and that's why we are working on it, because it's quite underrepresented. And I mean, we will be also in a conference now with European Commission. We were invited in 2 weeks in Brussels. Maybe some of you will be there as well. A high-level meeting about hate speech in Brussels. But I just wanted to stress this, that hate speech and hate crime towards disabled people, it's something very existing and happening on an everyday basis, but it's so normalized and so kind of unreported and unaddressed that it's considered normal. And yeah, we don't really address it, and we don't think to invite anyone to talk about it. So yeah, that was my contribution. Thanks a lot.
Can I reply? Kamil, thanks for your participating today. And so many times for hate speech it's not possible to including all issues. We are focusing more on LGBT and women today. And if you're following our project Memory Makers, we have around 12 webinars. And during our 12 webinar, we are going to discuss for different issues and different topics. We are not forgetting any person, but it's after the Trump and after so many issues in Europe, it's very hard for one day to discuss all of the issues, what is coming about of hate speech. But in the next webinar, we are sure we are going to invite you and our association to supporting us in the different way on disability people, on not hate speech and discrimination. We are not forgetting, but it was very hard to organize agenda. But for the next webinar, you are on it.
Thank you for the reply, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are in touch.
Yeah, thank you both. And I would like to give the floor to Frederick. And after that, we'll continue with our closing session. Frederick, please.
Thank you very much. I will be very, very brief. I'm Frederick Ado. I'm part of ECHR. I think my director just gave a comment. Just to add a small comment that there are a lot of materials which have been produced on various websites of various CSR, whether video clips. I think European Union has also made a lot of clips. So I will encourage all CSRs to promote such clips on Instagram, on Facebook. And as time goes on, maybe we can also contact Facebook and then Instagram so that they use that as banners. Because the hate speech is more on social media. And there are a lot of fake news produced by AI. And as a result, the fake news produce more hate speech. So if we are able to spread more of such clips, there are a lot produced by CSRs on various websites of the European Union, even on United Nations websites. Maybe it could help others forward and spread on social media. And maybe at times as it goes on, we can also seek partnership with all internet operators and also Google and Facebook, so that they use such video clips. We will make it shorter, maybe just few seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, so that it will be on the banners all the time to remind people to be careful. And also we can go further by creating or giving in more funds for certain organizations to make fact checks, because there should be fact checks on all social media to correct any fake news which create hate speech. Which is very, very important, because at times people use AI to create fake news which provokes hate speech. People will think it is a real story because there's no one online to detect that, to make a fact check, to bring it's fake. So before we realize it has produced fake, it has produced hate speech for about a week or 2 weeks. So maybe there are a lot to do, but I think we can still make use of the tools which exist already to spread it. Most of the people on this webinar are specialists, or they know that we have the tools, but I think we shouldn't keep it on our websites or, you see, as tools. We should spread them to people in education as tools, and also to put on their websites and banners too. Thank you very much for the organizers for making this webinar successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. I agree with you. Every day, small actions make the big change. So we can start from today through our tools that we are using every day. I'm seeing one last hand. I just want to give them the floor because it's already late, but thank you for all of you to actively participating. So that's why last comment or question for the AI Institute.
I'll thank you for letting me speak, and I'll try to keep it quick, but I just wanted to say, I mentioned it in the comments. Our NGO from Lithuania is organizing a 4-part webinar series. As Camille mentioned, we try to focus on these specific groups whose stories are often forgotten in the context of the Holocaust, such as the disabled, such as the LGBTQ+ community and the Roma community. And yeah, our first event is on Thursday, and we would love it if you could attend. We especially would love a space for international attendees to basically share the floor. There will be speakers, and there will also be a Q&A section for anyone interested. So
you already write the chat box, right?
Yes. The registration is already there. So if you're interested, you don't have to attend all sessions. You can pick one of the 4 which interests you the most, and it's very much focused on how to
digital tools.
on correct digital remembrance of victims. And their stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I would like to thank you, Dora, for sharing the moderation with me, and also Yusuf to organizing this event and makes us to come together, speak and share our experiences, and also what we can do to take an action. So I would like to thank you all. Yusuf, would you like to add something, or?
I just like to thank you and again, Dora, and all speakers and everyone. See you to the next webinar. Huh?
See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.